All right, hello everyone. This is the last presentation, I think, so I'll try to keep it interesting. My name is Ryan Catalani. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Berkeley Beacon at Emerson College. Emerson is the red dot down there. It's right in the center of Boston, but I worked with our data visualization team to create a more accurate satellite photo of what it looked like when we created this snow day calculator. So, as you all probably know, Boston was inundated with snow. It was a historic amount of snow this winter, over 100 inches. And I think every single institution had a record number of snow days in the Boston area. Emerson had 5 snow days and plus some evening classes canceled. So, we were discussing how to address this in the newspaper, and of course we wrote stories about every time there would be a snow day, but how much more can you write about that? We made some lists about things you could do instead of going to school for the snow days, like what movies to watch, things that were open, things that were not open. But after a budget meeting, my photo editor and I were talking, and I said, what if there were just like a calculator to see how much all those missed classes were worth? Because, it started to add up for people. And when there are 5.5 days of class canceled, that's like a significant amount of money, and, and that's a conversation people have on campus. So he's like, yeah, sure, that'd be cool. So I went back home that night, and I said, I'm just going to do it, and we'll see what happens. So that night I started, this is what it looked like initially when I first put it together. So, you just put in the hours of class you have each Monday, the hours of class you have each Tuesday, because those were, I thought, the only 2 days we had classes canceled. But the idea from the beginning was just something very simple, something very direct that students could fill in, see their results, and then share those results. And conceptually, I don't know if any of you do any programming, but it's actually very simple. All you have to do is find out the number of just find the number of snow days you have, right? And then figure out how much each hour of classroom instruction costs, more or less. And that data should be available. You know how much tuition costs. You know how many weeks of school there are in the year. So you just do some division. And then sort of, multiply the number of hours people miss by the number of hours that it, costs. So that's all that means. And then after I, look back on the emergency notification text that we got, I found out that it wasn't just Mondays and Tuesdays, and that there were a couple different hours. And so I wanted to, to be simple, but I also wanted it to be accurate. So this is the finished product that we published on Tuesday morning. So you could put in, how many hours of class you have at certain different days, certain times. And I also made the value of your canceled classes a little bit bigger, so it was a bigger, splashier number. I should also mention that this site works just as well on an iPhone, on an iPad. I actually designed it with mobile first in mind, so the layout is responsive, right? It adjusts to whatever screen size you're looking at. But I knew that about 2/3 of our readers to our website come from mobile devices, so it was important that they should be able to use this site, and it should function if it was going to have any traffic at all. So when you put in the numbers, it just calculates it instantly. And one cool thing is that Facebook and Twitter both have these special URLs you can create. You don't have to do any fancy programming stuff. You just look at these URLs for Facebook and Twitter, and they allow you to customize tweets or Facebook posts just based on that URL. So, I made a tweet that said, my canceled classes at Emerson College are worth, fill in the number from JavaScript, a link to our the URL, and then via @beaconupdate, our Twitter handle. And then so, once they finished typing in the numbers, that the tweet would, update, and then we saw that, of course, a bunch of people started tweeting how much their classes were worth with some color commentary. Now, I should also mention that, I never conceived, although some people interpret it, I can see it's easy to interpret this way, but it's not so much that you lost $1,500 because Emerson, as many institutions are, is required to make up these classes, or at least provide extra hours to make up these classes. And of course, you might say that not all value of a college comes from the classroom. So it's not, I was careful not to say that students were losing $1,000, just that $1,000 is the value of the classes that they didn't have. Which is a fine line, I understand. But it's more of a way of seeing how long the winter has been for all of us, not necessarily how much money you or your parents most likely are losing. So by about noon, this had picked up a lot. And I saw, as I was tracking mentions of Emerson College on Twitter, that there's a link from Boston Magazine, the blog, and I thought, oh, they must have just linked to our snow calculator page. That's pretty nice of them. Then I clicked on the link, and it was actually like a whole article about, the snow calculator. They hadn't contacted us, which is okay, but they used, photo and wrote about it, and that started a couple of other media organizations, including, thanks to our colleagues at the BC Heights, for writing about it also. So, nice things too. Thank you again. And so, this made me realize that, even these simple, short, projects can really can be a powerful way of building brand equity for your newspaper or media organization. Just because Emerson is a small college, the Berkeley Beacon is an important but small institution within that college, and things like this that we can do, like these small but quick and effective projects, are a good way for us, I think, to build trust and a name, not just within Boston, but to sort of really confirm that we are a trusted institution that does cool things for students, professors, administrators who then saw these other articles. So yeah, I guess the three takeaways that I have from this, at least. Number one, timeliness. This was created in the midst of a snow day, I should say. We actually didn't have class the day that I came up with this idea. So if we had done it, a week later, 2 weeks later, a month later in March, I don't think it would have had the same effect. But since people were just coming off of a snow day, and there were still, I think that was the last one, but there still could have been more snow to come. It happened at the right time. The second takeaway, for me at least, was clarity. That the calculator didn't try to do too much. It wasn't, how much did everyone at Emerson lose, or how much did the state of Massachusetts. It was just Emerson. It was just how much are your classes, and how can you share this? And that's the third point, which is social media. This story is by far our most popular article online from the past year. It has more than 10 times the views of an average article on our site, and probably about 25% more views than the number 2 article. And it's also the most shared on social media for us, which is, just links to this URL alone was almost 1,000, which is a lot for us, not counting the other media organizations that published about it. And I think part of it was that it was, I tried to make it easy for people to share it on social media. Right underneath the, right after you finish reading the value of your missed classes, there's a button to tweet your results or share them on Facebook. which I think is a decision that worked out really well, especially because the Twitter status and the Facebook status were already pre-filled out. You didn't have to do anything unless you wanted to. You just click share. So yeah, this is just a fun, simple, interactive project that we learned things from, and I hope you did too.